Hello everyone and welcome back to Rapid Flow. Today we're going to be doing one of the most requested things on my channel, and that is making a track in 1 hour, but we're only going to be using a couple of controllers, some sequencers, and the DAW. In this case we're going to be using Ableton, but you can also do this with Bitwig, FL Studio, and Logic Pro. The template that I'm using to make music so fast and in a state of flow is called the Infinity Bundle. It comes with a ton of instruments that we're going to be using today also. So let me give you a quick impression of what this sounds like, and then we're going to dive into the details. So as you can see, I'm controlling this live set in real time, very directly with these controllers, and all of this comes pre-configured if you decide to get this template. However, you can also just follow along here today and grab some of the best ideas and make them your own. Okay, so why are we using these step sequencers, and why would I highly recommend these to anyone? Okay, so this thing is amazing for doing bass lines and for doing drums, and this is amazing for doing harmonic melodic elements. These are my two main sequencers that I use a lot in my studio, and because I want this video to be just also interesting from a point of view of showing you some cool ideas for how you can make music, I really wanted to show you these two sequencers. If I were starting out again, this is the essential setup I would get. It would be these two controllers, these two sequencers, and a multi-clock. And I'm going to show you also in a second why the multi-clock is so important. And then obviously, you know, a DAW. I would obviously use our template because, yeah, what you're hearing here is the raw sound from Ableton. There's no mastering going on with any of the equipment here. This is what you get straight from Ableton. Okay, so back to these little sequencers. Why are these things so cool? Okay, check it out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring back the bass to give you an idea of what's going on there together with the kick. Basically what I've done here is I've just made a really short little loop of some bass notes. It's like a classic, you know, 16th bass, and I've just made it on 4 so I don't have to enter a ton of notes here. So the first thing I can show you that's super important to get this to work right is making sure that this is super tight with the kick. So let me show you. I'm just going to put basses down on the 1, so on the downbeat. And what I'm going to do now is use the multi-clock to just make sure that that is playing really tight on the kick drum. Okay, so there it's starting to phase, flange, so now I know it's super tight. And now I can start putting in my bass notes. So let me show you, for example, what we can do here. I like that. That one's not good. Okay, I'm going to tweak the filter on that bass synth a bit. Okay, I'm digging that. So what I'm going to do now is just grab this in MIDI right away, because if anything, you know, it can be that this thing gets out of time again, and I want to keep this feel. So this is actually a synth from our Infinity Bundle instruments. It's from a Roland System 100 clone, and it was actually recorded through a tape machine also, as you can see here. So what I'm going to do now is just grab this MIDI pattern. Okay, I'm going to put this down here a bit so we have it close to the kick. One sequence of that is enough. And let's have a listen back. I'm going to mute this little sequencer here. So do you see how like intuitive it was just to make like a funky, weird little bass line with this and just put a few notes? Like, that's what I love about the Beatstep, especially in combination with the multi-clock. It's so easy to get groovy things going against this. So now let's listen to a cool kick drum that really feels like it belongs to this bass. I'm going to take you over here to this kick drum pack, which is called the Analog Kick Drums, where there's a ton of kick drums that we've recorded and done in different ways. And let's have a listen to a couple of them. The 606 I end up using a lot, but yeah, let me show you a few more. Like one, for example, that I'm really into at the moment is actually, wait a minute, that's not from this pack. I'm going to take this over here and take you to the Melodic Techno Kick Drum pack. And this is one, the Kweiman. I'm really into Kweiman at the moment. So I'm going to make this a little bit longer so we get the full length from that Kweiman kick, and let's have a listen. I mean, how can you not like that? So fat. Okay, we're going to have to get this a little bit under control because it's massive. It's a little bit long, I can hear. God, it's hard to cut this kick because it's so nice, but I'm going to try to make it a little bit more controlled. I don't want to neuter it too much. Just want to make sure that it's going to sound clean when I mix it together with my bass. It's a little loud. I'm going to take it down just a tad. But as you saw when I switched the kicks, I mean, now we're in the area of taste. These all fit together because it's pre-mixed, this template. You can just switch to some other kick. Their general levels are always correct. I love that. Okay, cool. I'm gonna just take this down just a little bit because I want it. Oh, it's a different kick actually we have here. Ooh, that's also nice. Okay, let's take this one. Ooh, the low end on this is so sick. So round. Okay, cool. So now what I would like to do is maybe do a counter rhythm to that. Let's add some toms. I always like doing that to have something that's kind of something that gets me a bit more of a groove feel. So I'm gonna do a solo record on that. Actually, yeah, when I'm holding key commands, you can see them at the top here. Okay. So what we're going to do is go over to this toms track, which are toms that I recorded off the analog rhythm from Electron. I'm going to set it to ESI port 1, which I know is, actually what am I saying, 7, which I know almost knew is the one that's coming off of that. So we're going to put it here on port 7. And actually, that's why I do label a lot of my devices with, you know, output input, because then it's just easy to do this stuff if something isn't set correctly. I want this to listen to channel 10, which is my drums output from the little sequencer here. So this is now set to channel 10. And if I switch over to my drum sequencer, I can now play the toms that I have over here. Let's have a listen. Is this getting MIDI? Yes. Okay, so what I'm seeing now is that the tuning that these notes are set to is a little bit above. So I'm going to grab the pitch tool, which is something that I use quite a bit. Drop it in front of this and use that to take the notes being generated by the Beatstep to the right height for where the toms are mapped on this drum rack. Let's go a little bit Now let's do something that doesn't clash with the kick drum. Take you back here. And actually something that I've noticed is for tom patterns, I usually like to do 32 steps because otherwise it's just too repetitive. So I'm making this 32 steps now and going to start it again. In case you're wondering, it always takes 4 counts for this, all the little things clocked off of the multi-clock to catch up. That one is going to be on the kick, so we don't want that. Okay. So I have 2 notes being triggered now. I can see one of them is actually triggering quite far below over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab kind of a higher tom sample, maybe like here, and move that down to where that other note is triggering. That one I'm not liking here because it's on the kick, which is usually a problem. So I'm going to move that a bit. Here. Let's try this here. Like that. Okay, that's cool. So going back to Ableton, I'm going to again track this in now. Get rid of this so you can see things a little bit better. Bring the metronome so I know where my downbeat is. There it is. So now we have this little tom pattern in here. Let's see how tight I've set my... So as you can see, it's a little bit ahead of the beat. But yeah, I think, you know, doing it that way kind of does make things a bit more interesting. Let me... Let me just give a shot what this sounds like. Yeah, I prefer it definitely off-grid a bit. Okay, so I have that now, and now would be the part where I would say, okay, this could be cool to do a harmonic melodic idea too now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab another one of our instruments, which was a sound sampled off of the Electron rhythm also. It can do basses actually really amazingly. And as you can see here, I have the T1 mapped to that channel. So all I have to do is record, enable it. I'm going to clear the pattern on the T1. So now it's just blank. I'm going to go to pulses so you can see where it's playing. And let's bring it in. I'm just going to take these tom down a little bit so it's not too much up front. So as you can see, kick down just for a sec. The T1 is just playing now, but why there's no notes is because it has no pulses. So the first thing to do is to add some pulses. And let's see about what pitch we want this to be on. So basically here with this pitch, we can choose the basic note that we're going to use for this. Actually going to go up a bit. I'm going to check the timing. That feels like it's tight on the kick drum. Let me start it again just to make sure. little bit ahead of the beat. Now it's late. Yeah, now it's starting to flange. Okay, so obviously this is a very boring pattern, but the reason I'm using this is to make sure the timing is correct on this. So what I'm going to do now, actually, hang on a second. Let me fix this camera up a bit so that you can actually see these lights a bit better. Yeah, like that maybe. Okay. Okay, now you can actually see what's lit up here. So clear this pattern because this is super boring. This is was just for basically making sure that everything is in time. Hello. Okay, pattern's clear. I'm going to add new pulses. And if you double click, you can remain on whatever was the thing that you double clicked. Now I'm going to look for a pitch for this. Can you see how the notes are going up? But that's the correct note. That's where we started. And this is where the sick stuff comes now. I can now add more notes to this, but I can also put this into a scale. So what I'm going to do now is, as I know myself, I know that I usually work in minor scales. I'm going to pick a scale for this. So if I hold this, I can pick a scale, and I'm going to take a minor scale. I'm going to go back to pitch. I'm going to add some notes. Like that. Okay. Taking you back to Ableton now, so I can just show you what's being triggered here quickly. So what we're looking at is this synthesizer, and I have that mapped to this encoder so I can bring its filter up. Okay, and now the awesome thing about the torso is that you can very easily make harmonic progressions with it. Now that this is doing its thing in a specific pitch, I can grab the pitch and move these notes around in the minor scale. Let me show you. So I'm not feeling the minor scale too much. Let me do a pentatonic scale. Let's try that again. I wasn't crazy about that. Let me try the minor scale again. So what I also often do is just go through the notes I want manually. So for example, this is like my root harmonic idea now. And I know that these will fit even without having it in scale mode. So what I'll do is I'll just press both and I'll move up and down the scale that way. Let me show you. So let's record that into this, and that will be like our basic harmonic element for this track. Let me switch on the metronome again. Not totally sure about the timing yet. Hang on a second, let me check this. I want the groove to feel right. And right now it doesn't feel like it's right where it needs to be. So I'm going to bring back the kick and check the groove, if I can get the groove of this chord pattern a bit nicer. Try a bit of shuffle. That feels better. Okay, cool. Let's record in this MIDI pattern. Okay, so that's the first circle, let's say, second circle. Okay, so now we have the MIDI pattern. I can go over here and mute this. And now we're in MIDI, in the DAW. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so now it's like a proper MIDI pattern which has the transition or the change also where I would like to have it. This is a little tricky because the notes are a bit ahead of the grid. So I'm going to put that on grid so I can actually loop this properly. Otherwise, it's going to trigger weirdly when it comes around. Okay, so now we have two little MIDI patterns. Cool. So the Beatstep Pro, as I mentioned earlier, is, where are we here, is also very useful for doing drums. So I'd like to add a shaker to this. And what I'm going to do is do a solo record on the shaker. So if you hold Command and then set record, it's just going to set that channel to record. I'm going to grab ERM ports, or my MIDI interface port 7, which is where this guy is sending its audio from. And because I know that the shaker has been put across different notes, or the various shakers, I'm actually not going to use a drum sequencer, but a melodic or a sequencer, because there I can choose the notes more accurately of the shaker. So let me take you back here quickly. Actually, you know what? Is this a good place to show you this? Probably not. Let me show you better on the DAW screen. So on this shaker, we have a whole bunch of different ones, so different shaker possibilities. And what I'd like to do is actually make a new clip over here and check what whereabouts the notes of this sequencer are actually playing against that. So let me go over here. We can have a look at the instrument. So you see I'm an octave up or two above, so I'm going to take it down even further. I'm going to need a pitch thing again, I think, because, oh no, it does go almost far enough. So I'm going to make my life easier and just pitch it down 12 so that I have a bit more space for everything here. And I can access all these little shaker samples here, you see? Okay, that one, those two together feel super nice. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to set the metronome and I'm going to record in a couple of different shaker ideas. Let's see how they sound. And one thing that I really like about this is that you can, of course, affect the velocities of what you're doing. So I'm going to grab this note. I'm going to select over here velocity, and I'm going to just take all the velocities of this way down. And this was the other note I think I played. I'm going to do the same, take the velocities way down, and now use that to build up the vibe of this. Somewhere there's still a velocity fully open. There we go. No, still one. So what I'm doing is I'm adding velocity every third note, which makes kind of for an interesting thing, especially if you add a bit of delay. And there's delay sends already pre-done on the template. So let me grab one. Okay, that'll work. Let's grab the MIDI off of this. I think actually a very short loop here would be nice. This feels a little loud. Okay, that feels super nice and organic. Perfect, cool. So against that, I'd like to have an up hi-hat. I'm just gonna copy one over that I know I have up here. I'm just gonna mute all these guys so that all I have is just an up hi-hat and check that against this groove. Okay, so I figured since this just came out, it would be fun to mess with this a bit. Serum 2, what a cool guy Steve Duda is. I recently saw some clip of his where he was like, if I was smart, I should have retired after I sold a ton of Serum 1s, but I reinvested all the money to make Serum 2 because I hope it's gonna do well also. And I mean, just look at it, what a cool synth. Yeah, the redesign visually is incredible. It's so amazing. Great work. So what I've done is I just put this on a track here now. Again, I'm going to solo this and I'm going to look for some pad ideas to go with this. And for that, I am using this Nord Wave just as a MIDI that I have. And I am going to map the fader of this also, so I have a little bit more control to get this into the mix. And since I have a lot of dedicated faders on my control surface for continuing the recording, I just realized that my control surfaces were flipped horizontally. Now they look straight. Okay, so what I've done is I've mapped the pad controller on this to the output of the pad synth. I'm going to take its main volume down because this is all being sent into my mastering chain, which means that it's just coming out way loud. And now I have a way to control the sound coming out of here. Let me see if I can find some. So I realized this could be nice with a little bit of sidechain on it. And because sidechain is something that we use all the time, I have a little thing ready to go. You just drop this compressor over to whatever you want to sidechain, and that's it. Okay, so that'll do for a little loop for this. That's the basic interval that I want to use. Okay, that's my MIDI loop now. I'm going to make that yay long. Okay. Okay, we're going to need a snare. I'm just going to do this one manually because, yeah, snares are snares, and the patterns for those are pretty standard. First, I'm just going to keep this in a very short loop, and that's also mapped to a fader, so that makes life very easy. And I'm just going to use this now. That's not what I wanted. I'm just going to use this now to find the snare sound that I think will fit to this track first as a short loop. So because snares are notoriously difficult to bed in, there's a whole bunch of things set up here to make life easy. You see this high sculpt here? I'm just going to map that quickly to my snare high cut. So now I have that mapped. And I want to shorten this snare a bit also. Let me show you this really sick little trick that I found for this. If you reverse a snare, where is that again? Where's my brain? Where is it again? Oh, is it? Ah, yeah, it's just, you just have to hit R, yeah. Reverse sample, here we go. All right, check out, this is such a sick thing that I've discovered at some point. Let me show you something. I don't know why this works, and I've just realized this is something that I learned somehow subconsciously from Stav's Mixing with Your Mind book. I did a video on it yesterday. It's linked in the description, mixing things backwards. But listen to what happens now that I've set this as the length for this snare backwards, where it felt like it was in groove in reverse. It's like exactly how I would want it to be in the groove. It's so sick, isn't it? Let me try the other version that I just had before, which was also cool, which was longer. And it also works with the start. So the start is now the end. So if it's in groove, if it's groovy backwards, when you flip it, it'll still be groovy, but it'll sound like a snare. Isn't that a sick, weird technique? Let me go back to the other one that I did first, because that was somehow back. Let's have a listen. Bring in that tom. We have a bit of a mess because the pad is changing in a different rhythm than this chord change is, which is an 8. the pattern of that is 8. For some reason this was 11, so obviously that's not going to work. So let's do this also 8 long, and I'm just these notes. Quite a lot of pitch bend on that, or modulation. Anyway, cool. So the kind of harmonic thing that I made here with the T1 is okay, but it's not blowing my mind right now. It's like, this track feels like it could be an intro, but it's not quite there yet. So I want to look for some other things to do with that and see if I can find something that's a bit more interesting on it. What I'm going to do is just clear that whole pattern. That's what I want. Pattern. There we go. Clear it. I'm going to start from scratch on it and see what I can grab. Take you over here. Yeah, I think that'll be more interesting to see. try to capture this idea. So what I'm doing is I'm shifting through the different scales, and it's just moving notes around. A lot of this stuff I do just not really without a plan. Yeah. Try that again. I want the recording. Okay, so that's the beginning of that. So that's a new loop now that I'm a lot more into. It's 8 long, cool. We grab all these notes and take them an octave down. No, it was good an octave up, but I would like to just take the lowest note 1 down. Cool, how are we looking on time? All right, we have 5 minutes left to do a sequence. So the way that I like to do sequences is in real time using my controllers. So what I would like to do is go over here and go here so that I can use my controller here to skip through these different variations that I did here using the clip launcher. The other stuff is just going to stay on, and I'm going to launch it using the faders. So let me test this a bit. I like that one more actually, so I'm going to just stick with that. I'm going to wipe this one. Cool, so now I have my 3 variations. I think I can start this one on this note. Move the end also 1 over so it all lines up. I'm going to keep that actually on the normal timing. Cool, so now I have basically everything I need here to start doing my sequence. So what I'm going to do is switch over to the sequencing mode, and I'm going to look for a starting sound, something that I can use to get this going. So Okay, so that's enough for the beginning, I think, of this little experiment to do this sequence. So here we go. All right, I mean, I didn't want that tom in from the very beginning. Let's start here. Okay, so that would now basically be the beginning of what a sequence could be like. All this stuff is written in that I did as automation, so it's actually super easy if I want to perfect this, change it, do it a little bit different. And what I'll usually do is do a couple of these until I find some stuff that's really magical and works well together. There's always little moments where you're like, oh, that was super cool. And usually it's stuff that I would never think to do with a mouse and keyboard. So yeah, going from like a little loop sketch to what could be a sequence. Normally I would add a few more things and have a bit more meat on the bone, but I did spend a lot of time today just kind of showing you some of these cool tools and workflows that I think are super worth knowing. So yeah, that's it. That is how I would start a track and get an idea going within an hour. I usually do take a little bit longer to make a track. I mean, take a day or 2 or 3. Sometimes it also does take a couple of weeks, if things come in between. But I usually try to get a track really done within like 2-3 days of the original idea. Otherwise, it's just so easy to kind of lose the vibe that you had with it. So let's have a listen to what this rough sequence sketch sounds like. I hope this was interesting to see. You can grab this template over on rapidflow.shop. It's called the Infinity Bundle. We have a sale right now, which is the Infinity Bundle, where you get the masterclass for free, which shows you how to use all this stuff and go really in depth. You can get us also for Bitwig, FL Studio, and Logic. And yeah, as I mentioned, I have a retreat coming up here in Portugal this summer where you can go a lot more in depth on this template workflow, on using controllers like this, on doing music in real time and being much more effective with your time in the studio and just being able to materialize ideas much, much faster. All right, let's have a listen to this and I'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye.